Hello, my name is Chris Loebsack, and one of the questions that comes up all the time about meditation is about how to sit. Many people complain that they can't sit comfortably, and that's part of the reason that they're choosing not to meditate when they know it would be beneficial for them. So I wanted to address a few common things that we could do to make a seat more comfortable. For a lot of us, it's about getting the most comfort we can for our hips and our low back, which will spill all the way up into releasing tension in the neck. Typically, if we try and sit in a cross-legged seat, our knees end up raising higher than our hip crests. What this does is it wants to pull the pelvis underneath you and the knees higher, which can be a lot on the hip flexors. And if we try and force the legs down, it pulls our spine forward, which over time our head is hanging forward and then strains the back of the neck and in between the shoulder blades. So if we're sitting for a longer period of time, it is really helpful to get the hip crests higher than the knees. At home, you might not have elaborate yoga props, but you could use couch cushions, pillows, whatever you need. If you have more traditional yoga props, they're great as well. This is a bolster. And so what I'll do is I'll take the bolster and put it underneath my seat to help elevate. This allows me to drop the thigh bones down and shift the angle of the pelvis to have the natural curve of the low back, and then you can relax the shoulders a bit. Now, I'm pretty open in the hips, so I recognize that for some of us this is still a challenging position. What will often happen is you'll be elevated, but the knees might still be lifted. In this case, you could either take 2 yoga blocks or a few extra pillows from home and place them underneath your knees so that you're fully supported, and this will allow you to sit for a longer period of time. The ankle cross can also be one of those areas where if you're starting to sit for a longer period of time, you might start to fall asleep in your feet. A nice option that I like is to actually take a blanket and roll it up. With the roll, I can cross the blanket underneath. This both supports the knees and it takes pressure off of the ankles so they're not getting that compression, which should alleviate some of the tension in the feet and in the knees. For some people, a cross-legged seat is not optimal. To feel more comfortable in the spine and more comfortable in the knees and hips, for some people it's easier to sit on your heels. Of course, if the quads are relatively tight, this can be challenging, as well as for the ankles. To make that more comfortable to stay longer for meditation rather than a yoga stretch, we can once again elevate the hips so you can play with the tilts of the pelvis and alleviate pressure on the knees. Now this is a cork block and not quite as squishy, so I also like to take my blanket, make it just a little bit higher and a little bit softer. This way, I'm fully taking the pressure off the knees. You can see that the pelvis now can tilt a little forward, relaxing the shoulders back, so that the head can rest all the way over the spine. Rotate forward here a little bit. This is actually my preferred seat when I'm sitting for a longer meditation, but you have to experiment a little bit to find what's most comfortable for you. Once you have dialed in your seat, it will be easier every day to take a few minutes, sit, and just be quiet with yourself. Lastly, hand positions. For some people, it's really comfortable to rest the fingers over top, thumbs lightly together. Other people prefer hands upward on the lap, or even palms down just to rest and feel grounded. What's most important that we just sort of shrug out the shoulders and let this remain soft so we can breathe comfortably, relax, and spend a little time with ourselves. I hope these tips were a little helpful to you to be more comfortable in your seat. Happy meditating.